Go erase my name off the co-op.
Well, let's start off this set with a song about a famous work of art. This is a song about a painting by Vincent van Gogh. It's called Dr. Gachet. And it's a painting that Van Gogh painted in the last year of his life. And this is what happened to it afterwards. Dr. Gachet. Here we go. Vincent van Gogh made a painting of Dr. Gachet in 1890, just before he died. The doctor didn't buy it. In fact, Vincent van Gogh never sold a painting while he was alive. It was 15 years later when Vincent's brother Theo sold the painting for a price that broke his heart to a local art collector who sold it some years later to a genuine dealer of art. Now the painting Van Gogh couldn't sell has become too valuable for anyone to ever see again. Sterilized, humidified, safe from all the prying eyes. Wouldn't Van Gogh be surprised to see his work so highly prized today? Or maybe he turned over in his grave. Vincent van Gogh rarely traveled. He never saw America. Spent his whole life painting bridges and hay on farms. He didn't go to cocktail parties or do commercial endorsements or hit the town with starlets on his arm. But his painting crossed some borders, and the dealer made a profit when he sold it to a German businessman who took it to America when he emigrated just before the Holocaust began. Now the painting Van Gogh couldn't sell has become too valuable for anyone to ever see again. Safe from all the prying eyes. Wouldn't Van Gogh be surprised to see his work so highly prized today? Oh, maybe he turned over in his grave. Was liquidated. An incorporated oil executive and his wife bought the painting for an investment and took a tax deduction when they loaned it to a museum all his life. Then America changed its tax laws. The oil executive's widow couldn't deduct it, so she had to change her plan. She put the doctor up for auction. It sold for $30 million to a certain businessman from Japan, who took it home to his place where he designed an airless case. The painting could be safely stored away for some future millionaire to see. But I believe that you and me have seen the last of Dr. Gachet. 'Cause the painting Van Gogh couldn't sell has become too valuable for anyone to ever see again. Humidified and climatized, safe from all the prying eyes. Wouldn't Well, one of the interesting episodes I've had as a professional singer-songwriter was I was the first American guitarist, drum, and songwriter to tour Czechoslovakia after the Soviet Army left. The very first one, they told me. And part of the reason was because they couldn't afford to pay me anything. And I was already living in Italy. But that isn't really why I went. I went because it just seemed like a really cool thing to do. And I had a lot of pretty amazing times there. But one of the things that I noticed was the passion that young people had. The way their eyes were being opened to the fact that for the first time in their lives, they were going to be a free country. It reminded me of 1968, when I in America, in a way. And it made me wonder where that all went.
Here it is.
Here it is. Well, part of it, I think, has to do with patriotism, which unfortunately in the 60s became an issue because for political reasons and power reasons, people that were opposed to what was being done in their name were labeled as unpatriotic, when in fact I think many of us were equally, were certainly as patriotic as any of the people that were very cynically doing things for profit motives. But I digress. But anyway, while I was there, a translator went with me everywhere I went, and I went twice. And the first time I played a bunch of shows by myself, about like this, and then for the last show, my tour organizer teamed me up with a folk group that had been one of the groups that had been playing in the streets for the democracy rallies for 80,000 people and 100,000 people on a regular basis. And I'm going to talk for a minute about this because I find that people really find this very interesting stuff and don't know anything about it. But the Czech people kept their culture alive for 40 years to a very great extent by using folk music to do so. One of the reasons they did this, or one of the ways that they did this, was that they couldn't write songs about how they wished they were free or how screwed up the system was or anything like that because everything was censored by the Russian censors. But a significant number of songs, a couple dozen of them, had been written by the man who had been president of the country between the two world wars for the only time in Czech history that it was a free country for about 500 years. And most of these songs started out as pretty innocuous songs. They were along the lines of, I'm going to go back to the land, I'm going to get back to the woods, I'm going to go. They sort of sounded like Canned Heat meets Grateful Dead stuff. I'm going to go live in the trees for a while and get my head straight. And that was about as deep as they got. And so the censors didn't have to tell anybody they couldn't play them. But of course the people knew that the composer, the writer of these songs, had actually been their one and only president when they had been a free country. And so it had a political undertext, you might say, that the censor was totally unaware of. And as they began rallying in the streets and singing these songs, they became anthemic songs for the people. And then the people who sang those songs began writing their own songs. So at the very last concert of the first tour, I was teamed up with one of these guys, and they did their set, and then I did mine. I got an encore, and just on the spur of the moment, because I do this kind of thing, I said to these guys, through my translator, you want to go out and do the encores with me? And we'd never played together, and they didn't speak a word of English, not one of them. So they went, yeah, okay. Why not? So we walked out on stage, and then we kind of looked at each other like, well, what do we do now? And I started singing Imagine by John Lennon, and they all knew that. And then we did Blowin' in the Wind, and they all knew that. And then to show me what they knew, they played Hello in There by John Prine and sang it in Czech. And in the middle of it, they kind of looked at me, and I said, "Yep, okay," and I sang them a verse in English. And we went on like this for a while. And then I began to kind of study some of their songs. One of this guy, whose name was Pavel Lahaka, wrote a song called "The Hour of Reconciliation" that I thought was a brilliant song about how now that they were their own country, they couldn't afford to break up into factions. They had to work together if they were going to be a truly free people. And I thought, this is a guy with serious vision here. And I deeply regretted that these people sang in a language that only 7 million people understand. Because I wish the world could hear their music, and I wish I could sing it for you, but I never even learned to pronounce the most basic words of Czech. But I did write this song while I was there, and they translated it into Czech and ran it in all the newspapers and broadcast it on TV. And then they asked me back the second summer, and I did 11 nights in a row of festivals for about 10 to 15,000 people a night, where I sang this song every night for them. Last night I dreamed of my old home, my sister and I, where we were young. The yellow sun shone through flowering trees. We rode the old familiar streets. The faces of old friends were near, the smiles of children bright and clear. My mother sang our favorite songs. My father worked his patch of ground. When I awoke, I was far away, in a land where only yesterday, after 40 years of tyranny, the foreign armies had to leave. And as I walked the streets of town, with my new friends who call it home, in the air so newly free, this is what they said to me. I would not love my country more for victories in foreign wars. I did not love my country less when it was occupied and oppressed. Not for some politician's speech, but for the people strong and free. The land so green, the sky above, these are the country that I love. Now who can say what takes a man far away from his own land? Yet his dreams will take him home, back to the land where he was born, to walk the old familiar roads and see the faces young and old. The land so green, the sky above, these are the country that I love. The land so green, the sky above, these are the country that I love. Well, I have to say that's one of my favorites of my songs. And you know, it's a very fine thing on a personal level when you have a really great memory of a wonderful time in your life like that. Well, let's do something a little different though. Here's a song about two guys you may know. A little bit of celebrity worship here. Although I'll give you a hint, it's not about Kim Kardashian. Thank God, right?
And one of the Guidos.
And one of the Guidos?
Or one of the Guidos.
Now Ray and Ron died the same week. I knew them most of my life. Their stories filled the TV news. That's what happens when you die. Ray was a musician, Ron was a president. When Ray sang "Where'd the Money Go?", Ron knew where it went. Now Ray came from poverty, was blind as adult life. Ron came from California with his cowboy hat so white. Ray sang with an orchestra and a voice that'd make you cry. Ron never met a weapon system he didn't want to buy. Sat down at the piano, bobbing round the microphone. Every word came from the heart and spoke to you alone. Ron spoke on television in a voice you've always known. So well that he could sell you things you knew were completely wrong. Ron said ketchup is a vegetable, we need more bombs in space. Trees pollute more than people, and nuclear power's safe. Lower taxes on the rich will benefit the poor below. Ray got busted for drugs, and Ron said just say no. To say if you asked him about Ray, he'd probably make a great speech, cause that would be his way. He'd say Ray had so much soul it filled him to the brim. Instead of naming all this stuff after me, they ought to name it after him. Yeah, Ray and Ron died the same week. I knew them most of my life. Their stories filled the TV news. That's what happens when you die. Ray was a musician and Ron was a president. When Ray sang "Where'd the Money Go?", Ron knew where it went. Ray Charles was one of my new heroes, one of my music heroes, in fact. One of the first guys I ever saw. In fact, it was the first concert I ever went to of a name entertainer. In fact, I was boasting to somebody the other day that I knew all his songs. So I should sing one of them for you.
Sure.
Let's see. Let's see if I can. I mean, the problem with covering Ray Charles, it's really great to cover Dylan because, you know why everybody covers Dylan? Because you can't possibly sing it as badly as you do. Especially live, you know. But Ray, on the other hand, that's tough. Let's see if I can fumble my way through something here. You give your hand to me, and then you say hello, and I can hardly speak, My heart is beating so, and anyone can tell. You think you know me well, but you don't know me. Well, you don't know the one who dreams of you at night and longs to kiss your lips and longs to hold you tight. To you I'm just a friend, that's all I've ever been, 'cause you don't know me. Well, I never knew the art of making love, though my heart aches with love for you. Afraid and shy, I let my chance go by, a chance that you might love me too. Now you give your hand to me, and then you say goodbye. I watch you walk away beside the lucky guy. You'll never, never know the one who loves you so. You don't know me. Well, I never knew the art of making love, though my heart aches with love for you. Afraid and shy, I let my chance go by, a chance that you might love me too. And you give your hand to me, and then you say goodbye. I watch you walk away beside the lucky guy. You'll never, never know the one who loves you so. You don't know me. You'll never, never know the one who loves you so. Well, you don't know me. That's our fantasy stuff, you know, musicians, we get together, that's the kind of stuff we play with each other sometimes. We often don't play our own songs for our fellow musicians, just because you want to play stuff you can play together. Well, let's see, I wanted to do this tune for you here. Back when I was in my early 20s, I was offered the opportunity to go overseas in uniform, and I filed papers to be a conscientious objector, and promptly was sent to a shrink to see if I was crazy, and then sent to a naval commandant to see if they could offer me some sort of assignment that would seem more fun, like an aircraft carrier or something. And I was already an officer in the Navy at the time. I had joined the reserves, and then had gone through a long, involved conversation with myself over about 3 years, during which time I was an inactive reservist, so that by the time
I actually got around to considering it, my point of view had changed dramatically. It's a long story, and I don't really need to bore you with it, but I can tell you this much. It involved hitchhiking across the country and spending a month living in the trees in Mendocino, California. And by the end of that period of time, I was convinced that I didn't belong in the military, and I was prepared to run away and go to Canada. When I met a guy who interviewed me and said, "I believe you're a conscientious objector, and since you weren't when you got in, you can get out if you're willing to go through the process." And I was, at the time, a student at Columbia Law School as well. So I went through the process, and they called me up to Newport to officers training school so they could examine me up close and personal. And eventually they let me out. Two things really stuck in my mind from it. One was that my lawyer, whose other client other than me was ExxonMobil, worked for the world's largest law firm at the time, and he said I was his therapeutic client. The law firm had no choice but to let him take someone like me occasionally, or he was going to leave. And when he gave me his bill for $250 for 50 hours of work, I said, "Are you serious?" And he said, "Well, I want you to promise me something in return. I want you to promise that you'll tell your story as you go through your life." So here I am telling it to you. The second thing that happened was while I was in officers training school, I got pretty tired of putting on my uniform and going to the officers club to drink martinis, to have some social life. So one night in Newport, I went down to the waterfront and I walked into a bar, and there was a guy on stage, and he wasn't very good. And I asked, there was nobody listening to him in the bar, and I asked the bartender, "Do you ever have an open mic?" I'd never played anywhere in my entire life for money up till this point, except a couple songs in a Peter, Paul and Mary type of knockoff group. And he said, "Do you play and sing?" I said, "Yeah." I lied, you know. He said, "Go home and get your guitar and come right back." So I did, and he bought me a couple drinks, and he hired me to play 4 nights a week for the rest of the summer.
Wow.
And up until that moment, I had probably never considered that I'd be standing in Florence, Oregon, playing the guitar for you folks. But here I am now. And it's probably, if there's a reason for it, I guess I owe it all to the U.S. Navy. So here we go.
General said, "You're young, I guess you don't understand. We gotta have these things in case it gets out of hand." I say, "What if they are like you, always got to be on top? Isn't there somewhere to end? Isn't there some place to stop? What if everyone thought like you?" The general said to me. "Oh, what a vulnerable country we would be. What if everyone thought like you?" The general said to me. I say, "There would be some peace. There just might be some peace." The broker said, "You're young, I guess you don't comprehend. These people are walking around, gotta have some money to spend. And how can there be any money if we don't sell the things we can build?" I say, "Why don't you build something else to use without having to kill? What if everyone thought like you?" The broker said to me. "Oh, what a poor nation this would be. What if everyone thought like you?" The broker said to me. I said, "There would be some peace. There just might be some peace." Stop the war, stop the war, stop the war within yourself. And you won't need to fight with someone see the light. It ain't what goes on during the day, it's what goes out to the people at night. The people, they like a good show, how can you deny them? They do. I say, what does that say about us? And what does that say about you? What if everyone thought like you? The newsman said to me, oh, what a boring world this would be. What if everyone thought like you? The newsman said to me, I say there would be some peace. There just might be some peace. Oh, you know there would be some peace. There just might be some peace. Stop the war, stop the war, stop the war within yourself. And you won't need to fight with someone else. Stop the war, stop the war, stop the war within yourself. And you won't need to fight with someone else. Oh, no, you won't need to fight. Yeah, you won't need to fight with someone else. Now you won't need to fight with someone else. Oh, you won't need to fight with someone else. Oh, you won't need to fight with someone else. Yeah, you won't need to fight with someone else. You won't need to fight with someone else. Stop the war, stop the war, stop the war within yourself. And you won't need to fight with someone else.
Well, here's one for you if you've ever been driving down some really long, windy, narrow country road and you get to somebody's house and they have a big old satellite dish and they're inside on the internet looking at YouTube. Google me, baby. Google me all night long. Google me, baby. Google me all night long. Want you to Google me, honey, till my back ain't got no bone. I could change the world, but I got to do my laundry first. I can change the world, but I got to do my laundry first. Before I can change the world, honey, you know I gotta change my shirt. Whistle. I got a bird that can sing. Honey, I got a bird that can whistle. I got a bird that can sing. But if you won't Google me, baby, it don't mean a thing. So Google me, baby. Google me all night long. Why don't you Google me, honey? Google me all night long. Yeah, won't you Google me, baby, till my back ain't song officially ends usually. Well, you know, this is such a contagious way of playing a song. But sometimes when you come up with a new lyric, you just play it to this kind of music. For example, I've been working on a new song and I haven't got any other music for it. But I was thinking what the world needs is a love song for old guys. Kind of an old guys need love song, need love too song. So here's my attempt at it. You walked in the room, my heart went boom. I couldn't take my eyes off of you. You had that grace and that smile on your face, took everyone into your view. And I knew right then I would do anything just to have you in my life. And the best thing of all is you're already my wife. Yeah, you're already my wife. We can mess around, we can paint the town, we can be alone together. Come and lay by my side, I need your love all my life. I say the best thing of all is you're already my wife. And then of course you get to play the harmonica again. I know what you're thinking. What's he been drinking? All the loving we did was so good and righteous and so very delicious. That's how we got these kids. Come on and lay by my side. I need your love all my life. And the best thing of all is you're already my wife. Well, I promised I'd play all the good ones in this part, so I probably should get to it here. Let's see. Let me do one or two more for you. I'll tell you what, let's see if we can do this one here. Although my sails be torn and tattered, and the mast be turned about, oh, let the night wind chill me to my very soul. And though the spray might sting my eyes, and the stars no light provide, give me just another morning light to hold. And I will not lie me down, this rain a-raging. I will not lie me down in such a storm. And if this night be unblessed, I shall not take my rest till I reach another shore. And though the only water left is but salt to wound my thirst, oh, I will drink the rain that falls so steady down. And though night's blindness be my gift, and there be thieves upon my drift, I will praise this fire that shelters me along. I will not lie me down. I will not lie me down. This rain a-raging, this rain a-raging. I will not lie me down in such a storm, in such a storm. And if this night be unblessed, I shall not take my rest till I reach another shore. And though my mates be drained and weary, and believe their hopes are lost, well, there's no need for their bones on that blackened bottom. And though death waits just off the bow, they shall not answer to him now.
he shall stand.